Hey mate, and welcome to Captain History Update 3, everything we know so far. And first off, I can tell you, it's a massive update. It brings with it about 1.5 DLCs worth of content, should you look at other games and what they release as a DLC, along with we're going to be covering, the expected release date. Also, a number of items not covered in the previous blog posts, but directly from the devs. Yes, I've squeezed some extra information out of them, but we're going to get to all those details one by one, but not before I ask that very important question. Of course, the very important question being, can I borrow a like? I'd just like to borrow a like for flattening the island. If you didn't enjoy the video, you didn't learn anything along the way, by all means, you can have your like back. So let's cover the highlights first. We have trains. Trains coming in Update 3, and that's not the biggest news. I should add that they're adding space. That's going to come with space stations and asteroids, asteroid capturing and also mining. Can't forget infinite research. We also have new resources coming, that including bauxite for aluminium and of course titanium. Also, there's a new resource they're adding to the game. It's going to be much like Uni, but now we have Focus, which is made from offices, which require workers. So you can have more people to make more workers, to have more focus to do more things. Yes, and with all of that, there's going to be new recipes and also complexities that you're going to have to master. Should also add that they've slowed down the research tree a little bit. For the early game, it shouldn't make much of a difference. For the mid game, you should notice it just be a little bit slower. Late game, it's going to be a decent amount slower, but they're also adding infinite research. And we can't forget they're adding infinite resources. Also, there's a UI overhaul and, of course, the All Sorted Mark II. That's the highlights. Let's break these down one by one. First off, we have signalless trains. They will automatically run without signals out of the box, which, for me, as somebody who has built a number of train systems in a number of games, I am so happy that they've decided to go with this. If you want more customization or you have more complex intersections, they have added the virtuality of signals. So they've added something called critical sections, which you can mark the tracks to make sure no train blocks that section, and they're added automatically by default at any intersection, which is also perfect for making sure the train doesn't stop blocking the road crossing for trucks. This also means T-junctions and roundabouts work out of the box, as well as bidirectional tracks, along with any sidings you may consider, without having to deal with signals at all. They've also added super blocks. If you wish to build a stacker, so you can have multiple trains lined up, ready to go into a single station, you can mark a single piece of track as a super block, and that way two littler trains, smaller trains, won't try and slide in there at the same time in case one needs to pull forward and it's blocked by the other train. As for train loading and unloading, that's going to be done in batches, so the train will pull through and stop to load at any station, and then pull forward to load and unload at different types of storages. Of course, we're going to have our fluid storage, of course, our unit storage, and our loose storage, but it means you don't have to line up the trains with the station and make sure they're all in the right order. They're just going to pull through and stop where they're meant to, which makes the logistics way easier. And also, for those tracks enthusiasts out there, the train tracks are 2 tiles wide. They have 16 cardinal directions for the train tracks. That means you have your 0, your 90, you also have your 45 degree, and you have your 22.5 degree. There's also 3 types of curved rail and 3 grades. Can't forget, we also have diesel trains along with steam trains. Yeah, there's a lot of trains coming in update number 3. Next, space. So now there's a reason to launch rockets from your island, apart from the small uni boosts you used to get. But space gives you access to space stations, which will give you space research, which will unlock very late game tech, and also infinite technology as well. Space stations can be upgraded to higher tiers, making research faster, but of course will require more crew supplies, and of course more maintenance. But don't forget, it also does give a uni boost, and larger stations give larger boosts, but also require more upkeep in the forms of maintenance, along with crew supplies, and the crew needs to be cycled in and out. This also unlocks the discovery of asteroids and asteroid mining. You'll have to scan asteroids with probes to find out what they're made of. To mine the asteroids, it doesn't involve space drills. We don't have sci-fi here. Instead, you are the captain. You will be capturing asteroids and bring them down your island to be mined by an army of diggy boys. Asteroids can have any of the existing materials, as well as they're going to be only place-hitting by titanium, and you can also get bauxite for aluminium, but aluminium is also available on the world map, much like the other resources. Also should mention that they have said this is the first iteration. It will be much like how the current sea map is. The devs originally had this in place during the pre-alpha, but it was removed as there was no real gameplay there, but it's something I always wanted to bring back to the game, so expect this to update in the future, much like the current world map and also ship combat. Next up, we have offices and focus. They're designed around a much bigger population goal, so there's actually a reward for having more people. They're not required as part of the game, so if you don't want to mess with them, you don't have to. They're going to require office supplies, which are paper, which, by the way, now actually has an actual use rather than just for T2 research packs, along with electronics 2 and glass rocking chairs. I really hope they change this into paper, wood and graphite for pencils and paper, of course, because I don't really like having more glass rocking chairs, but we'll see what happens. Offices, as I said, give focus, which are much like uni spent in the captain's office, except unlike uni, you can make more focus with more workers, office supplies, etc, etc. Also, office blocks, we will call them, come in 3 different sizes, a small, a medium, and large one, and they require a lot of workers to operate it. It looks like it's going to be 250, 500, and 1,000 workers for the 3 different tiers. You can also add computing to them to make sure they use computers in their office, and that'll give you also a focus boost for that particular office. The new focus effects are on your screen now, but these, as with everything covered in this video, are all, of course, subject to change. The devs haven't gone through their final balance pass yet, but the devs are also looking for input for other items you think might work in the focus list. So let's get on to new production chains. We of course have a box art for aluminium, which can be found in the world map, contracts, and from Astros. It's for much later in the game, requires a number of steps to process. It's got to be crushed first, as with most ores do in the late game, before it passes through a chem plant, and then onto the kiln before being smelted in the new electrolytic cells, and then finally cast inside a metal cast. Its main use is in the space program to make composite panels for rockets. We'll cover that in just a second. We also need to talk about titanium, which can only be found via contracts and, of course, asteroids. It needs to be crushed, of course, then run through an arc furnace to get out molten iron and titanium slag, which is then processed in a chem plant before running into an oil distillery, and then into another chem plant for titanium sponge. Then, when you smelt it for a second time, you finally get molten titanium, which you need to mix with molten aluminum in the brand new molten mixer to finally get titanium alloy, which will be needed for the new T2 rocket. Bigger and better rockets! SpaceX, the captain's coming for you. Electronics 4 will also be added, requiring you to make diamonds in the new high-pressure, high-temperature reactor. Diamonds are turning into diamond paste, which is used to polish the sapphire wafers, which are made from alumina, and we're getting really high up the tech tree here. Electronics 4 are mostly going to be used in space. Going for what we've seen, it looks like we're going to be making diamonds from salt and graphite, so they should be at least easy to make. As for Electronics 4, we'll have to see. There's also a number of other recipes for building out your space station. I'll show them here. Of course, we have chem fuel to boost the station. These will go into station parts. We have composite core basic. These also go into your space station parts, along with a solar cell. I bet this is used for the first few levels of the space station in the place of maintenance, because of course you're going to have to load them in a rocket and fire them up, which probably means you're not going to get a lot of materials back. Do have to consider that. You are literally launching parts into space with no hope of return, but of course you get the space station, which should give you a couple of bonuses. Of course, that uni bonus, and you can't forget the research bonus. Then we have the composite core and an upgraded station parts with better quality solar. I expect these will be for the higher level space stations. With space comes probes to find asteroids, and also space engines for actually capturing the asteroids, needing plutonium and enriched uranium 20%. So I expect some changes around the fast breeding reactors design, and of course the nuclear recipes. So other notable mentions that I might have mentioned already once, but we should cover them a second time just to make sure that they go in the back of your mind, because these are going to fundamentally change probably the way you play parts of the game. So we have slower research overall. Early to mid game, it shouldn't really be much different. End game, expect to be slower and more expensive overall. We also have the infinite research options. They've also updated the research, so now you can see how expensive it is, and therefore how many science packs you need to complete a single piece of research. And it also means you can now make more informed choices on what to research next. They have done a complete UI overhaul. I actually think it's really quite good, but we can't know for sure until we get our hands on it and start playing with it. They have the Ore Sorter Mark II with 8 times the speed of the old Ore Sorter Mark I, and also hopefully to increase storage so you can get the mega trucks unloading a little bit faster. They've added a T4 pipe with a 1,000 unit limit per 60 seconds. So that means pipe and water and exhaust around the map is going to be way easier than it ever was before. They've increased the vehicle limit, 350-ish should now be possible, with maybe a little bit of infinite research, but that's a lot more diggy boys and a lot more trucky boys moving around the map along with those trains. They increased the belt and pipe height, so now you're not limited to stacking 4 high, it's now 6. That's 50% extra belt stacking. It also means mega trucks can pass under them, and mega diggy boys can too if you use one of my blueprints to build extra tall pipes at height number 7. We have new models, much like Update 2 overhauled some of the previous models for buildings. Update 3 will bring robotic assemblers up to the new standards. Bricks are gone from the game. No more hoarding dirt for making bricks. Now we just have to work out what to do with all that dirt we've amassed instead. Glass has been changed. The T1 glass maker now no longer outputs slag, but it outputs half its glass as broken glass, which of course you'll have to resmelt. But the upside, no more slag. The longer T2 glass maker will have its output halved. So some major changes when it comes to glass smelting. Also, furnaces have gone through a number of changes. Firstly, the Arc Furnace Mark 1 that was limited just doing silicon previously, well, it can now smelt everything. Of course, it's going to be running at half the speed of the Arc Furnace Mark 2, but at least we can now use it earlier in the game to swap away from coal and across to electricity and start using that graphite a whole lot earlier. Also, expect to be digging up a lot more iron. In Update 2, for 8 iron ore, we got 8 iron ingots in the very first furnace. And of course, in the Blast Furnace Mark II, you'd end up getting 12 because of the extra step of crushing and that little bit of addition of limestone. Well, now it's going to be 8 ore for 8 iron in the Mark 1 and 8 for 8 in the Mark II. So you're going to want to get to Mark II faster than ever before. Luxury goods. We get luxury goods for the people. You will need gold and of course imported goods, so you can add some gold to them and that makes them luxury, which imported goods can only be found in contracts. So you're going to have to get into contracts if you want to get the people their luxury goods. Also, the people of the island finally get internet, so they too can subscribe to the channel for more Captain Industry content. Speaking of gold, the amount of gold needed in microchips was halved from 1 to just 0.5. But now they need a little bit more quartz, so we go from 1.5 to 2. Small change, but I think that's going to free up a lot of gold that we can put in to, of course, the luxury goods. And then we can jump onto the internet and we can tell our friends about exactly how rich we are and exactly how many designer goods that we're wearing. And of course, the recycler, it can now also output aluminium titanium, but it sounds like a lot of that's going to space, so I really hope we have some sort of space recycler up there so we can hopefully get some of those resources back. Oh, and I should mention new maps. Every map is at least twice the size it was before, probably except for Armageddon, because that thing was massive to start with, but of course their newest map, it is the largest map they've ever made. And finally, the expected release date. That is, of course, May 14th. So we'll see you on release day for a brand new Let's Play with the new island, of course. And the last thing is, the devs are looking for a good name for Update 3. I had pitched Fires and Jetty Disasters, and the devs said no. But with trains and space being the two highlights, leave your comments below on what you think would be a good name for Update 3. Space Trains, I think it should be. Last couple of things I should mention is if you want a chance to beta test Update 3, in the official Captain Industry Discord, they will open applications about 2 weeks prior to the release. So that means like any day now. So head over there if you want a chance to check it out. You can always find their Discord link on the Steam page. But for now, I'm going to go explode in excitement. And I will see you back here for any more news leading up to the release. So subscribe to the channel if you want to be kept in the loop, Captain.